least according to the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line, we have come such a long way in such a short period of time. Long before anybody in this town, or perhaps in any other town, was giving serious consideration to making Kyler Murray their quarterback. There was an endless and spirited debate about who he was as a quarterback over the course of his first, well, now it's 7 years. I think this will be year number 8. And in the blink of an eye, snap of my fingers, it's gone from, again, there's very few quarterbacks there was a greater polarization about and debate and criticism about, given the number of games he played, compared to almost any other quarterback of his vintage. And in the blink of an eye, snap of fingers, here's where it stands. This is what it's come to. Where does all this stuff get started? These old, lazy narratives about him and what happened to him in Arizona. How could there be any question about him? How could anybody wonder about anything now? It's all being shoved down our throats. And this is part of the point I was trying to make with Seifert. On the other end of it, which is attempting to project all of the good things that could happen. And I believe they could. I don't even think there's anything wrong with that, as long as they could happen. Not that they are obligated to happen. That they must happen. And I just shake my head. So what this tells me is some of the same people who at the very least questioned Kyler Murray's credentials or performance in Arizona either didn't mean it at the time they said it or are conveniently forgetting that now. Because he's here, he's
our guy.
With us, and he's become our guy.
You know what team he grew up?
Honestly, what's that?
He loved the Vikings.
He cried.
He cried real tears.
Somebody wanted that to be the Tsunami name.
It was in the consideration.
And it was a good suggestion.
Yeah.
And again, I just, that's the part that I'm rebelling against. That, well, how could what do you mean? You've seen the way he moves? You've seen some of the, and you know what? Here's the other thing that's going to happen. It's already happening. I'm already seeing it. The video breakdown. And you know what those folks who are concentrating on those video breakdowns are doing?
The highlight reels.
The highlight reel.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that if there's another reel that says, now here's some throws that have elicited concern and criticism about his consistency or what he actually has represented as a pro quarterback. They're all the highlight reels. You say he can't play in this offense? Well, here's 5 of KOC's favorite routes, and here's Kyler Murray hitting them. Guess which video you're going to show when you're trying to make that point? The ones where he hits them. I just, why is it this difficult? We live in, as I said, because if this is reality, is what we're hearing now, that all the stuff that was written and said before about him was made up, then there's a lot of people that have some explaining to do. And I'll still say, how many teams, once they found out that Kyler Murray might be available, and that's been an open secret for months, decided to change everything about what they were doing at the quarterback position? We got to get in on it. We have to get in on Kyler Murray. Where were all those teams? It's bizarre to me if it's as slam dunkish and automatic as is being suggested. Now, Seifert said you can argue that he's the best option of what was available. I'm not sure I agree with that, but you can make that argument. But the best option doesn't necessarily mean a great option. And the fact that he's making $150 is great now, but you know and I know no one will care about that if he meanders and the Vikings are kind of the same team they were a year ago, right? Nobody's at that point going to go, what a bargain. All they're going to care about is whether he produces and whether he performs. Now, you can also argue that the advantage he represents is he knows his career is on the line now. So therefore, you're going to get the best out of him in terms of preparation, in terms of study.
You would think.
Because he wants, as if he hasn't made enough money already, another big contract, right? So what do we always say? It's human nature, in any sport. Basically, this is a free agent year. He's setting himself up for what might be a massive payday down the road. That's all true. But the intellectual dishonesty of pretending that all of the criticism was mythological and that all of the praise was legit, sorry, that's too convenient after the fact for me to want to swallow that swill whole. And I worry because what's the date today? It's March
17.
It's only just begun. We're going to get on average a story a week. And trust me, almost every one of those stories is going to be about how Kyler Murray has been misunderstood and that he bears none of the responsibility for the fact that he played in one playoff game, played miserably in that game. And what I'm here for is he didn't have much help at times in Arizona. And it wasn't a very good organization. But let's live in the real world and say that he has to bear some of the responsibility for what took place. It's going to be a long offseason in that regard because that's going to be the story, and that's what we're going to keep. We're going to have people talk about, the lazy narratives of the past. The laziest thing that's going to happen going forward is reimagining everything that took place during his 7 years in Arizona and holding him responsible for a percentage of zero of it. None of it. That's not going to play here very well. I just want there to continue to be an honest look at it across the board. Not that we don't want to hear about stuff now because we want to believe. He's our guy now. We want to believe because we need to believe because we were traumatized, understandably traumatized by what we were forced to deal with last year at the quarterback position. And I know the other trope is what? Well, you put a good offense, a good quarterback play with that defense last year, we might have won 13 games. And you know what's lazy about that? We don't know what the defense is going to be next year. We know what we think it can be. We don't know what's going to be. Hell, we don't even know who's going to be here at this point. We still don't know if Grenard's going to be here, right?
Correct.
So the idea that we can just plug in a better offense to last year and everything's fine, we don't know if the defense is going to be the same last year or this year as it was last year. You can't recreate exactly the conditions it's a new year. We find that out every year in the National Football League. Things change.
That's
Things evolve. And often that is the beauty of it. You're exactly right about that. I don't know. Maybe I missed how many teams were, like I said, ready to just shuck whatever their quarterback plans were to take a chance at this guy who has suddenly become, going into his 8th year, one of the best quarterback options in all of the National Football League. When the team he played for is writing a check for, $35 million for him to go away. And I get it. They've changed their organization. They may say, we just need a fresh start. I know all of that. Let's just go in. None of this means he can't be good. I'm just asking that we go in with our eyes open and not conveniently pretend that any of the narratives that made him look bad are false and any of the narratives that make him look great on the money. It's exactly what I thought on Kyler Murray. And I, by the way, will not participate and haven't, except for one, I think, text in the height jokes. I'm not doing it. I won't. I'm not going to participate. We've had many opportunities to do it. Even on the tsunami, there were people who wanted us to do it, which we ultimately rose above that as well. Because that's one of the other things that come up. Well, if you really look at the numbers, he doesn't get his passes batted any more than anybody else does. Maybe that's true. That's wonderful. But you know and I know that in the National Football League, the immeasurables matter, or the measurables matter.
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's just undeniable.
Why Wexler's
doesn't
still
mean
at it.
players can't rise above them, but there's no conspiracy against the idea that teams tend to pay attention to how tall, on the average, their quarterbacks are. If they happen to be incredibly accurate, a la your guy, Drew Brees wasn't very tall, was he?
About 6 feet is what they said.
But he was so accurate, right? It didn't. He rendered that meaningless. Guys can be that good to render it meaningless as well. All right, let's do this. Let's pause. Let's get a shorty in and then prepare to talk college basketball with my guy Rick Bozich. We'll also have Louie to talk puck. Wild in crisis right now. Minnesota Timberwolves in crisis right now. Well, maybe we'll have Louie weigh in on both those teams in crisis. Stay tuned. Have home and home duties. I know I'll have more details about this during the Top 5 at 5, correct? Against the Blackhawks?
Yes, sir.
They're in Chicago tonight and then back here Thursday. Is that correct? Tuesday, Thursday. I believe that's it. And your Wolves are hosting the Phoenix Suns tonight. Now, do the Suns know this is a schedule loss for them tonight? Even with Anthony Edwards, they played last night and lost. So do they know? Do they abide by those schedule loss rules? Because if they do, we're in even without Anthony Edwards.
That's true. It's a good point. I don't know, because it seems like some teams don't participate in the unwritten rules of the NBA like we so freely do.
Well, I think Phoenix is trying to make up their own rules this year. You're right.
Yes.
So maybe they don't participate in all of that. I haven't done a deep dive on how they've been second night of a back-to-back, I will fully grant. I'm looking at the... So Anthony Edwards is definitely out tonight. He's now listed as he will be reevaluated in 1 to 2 weeks.
Right.
Which would seem to indicate, because he's tended to be a fast healer, that he might not miss a bunch. He might not miss 2 full weeks, which you said would be 7 games?
Yeah, that's what I saw Jace Frederick type out, and I trust him.
But it does mean he's, I got to believe, out for at least a couple, and we'll see where this thing goes. Phoenix is a game and a... Is it now 2 games behind us? Because we didn't play last night. So I think they're now maybe 2 games behind us in the standings.
They are 2 games behind us.
Okay. And they hold the tiebreaker on us. So we want to make sure we stay ahead of them. They are in the play-in position, correct? Number 7?
Yeah, they're 7. We're 6.
We're currently number 6.
We have the same record as the Denver Nuggets.
Okay. So...
By the way, Joker missed a month, and we have the same record as the Denver Nuggets.
That's a great point. Yeah.
I know Ant's missed some time. I think this is like 11 games.
Who's the forward who just came back?
Aaron Gordon.
Gordon just came. He's missed a bunch of time for that. Oklahoma City still doesn't have its whole real team together.
Jalen Williams.
And they still have a record that's 8 or 9 games at least.
How come all these other teams aren't participating in the rules of the NBA like we are?
It's a great question. That's a lazy narrative.
We've been healthy all year.
So after Phoenix tonight, speaking of back-to-backs.
Jazz tomorrow.
That's supposed to be a win, but it's second of a back-to-back, although both at home. Then we got Portland here Friday. Then take a look at the schedule. At Boston, Sunday. That's a Peacock game, Sunday night. Then we host Houston. They're faded. They're having their own issues right now offensively, but they're still, formidable. Detroit had been fading. I don't know if they've gotten out of their funk yet. Then you're at Dallas. You're at Detroit. You're at Philly. You're hosting Charlotte. And then you finish the season at Indiana, at Orlando, at Houston, and then you host New Orleans. The bottom line is that's still a pretty tough schedule.
Yeah.
It's not a schedule that anywhere near as easy as it was a year ago when we finished 15-5 and felt like we went into the postseason with feeling pretty good about ourselves. Rudy Gobert did it again today. Maybe he's talking too much now. He said again, we're not defensively what we're supposed to be. And he did do the old, it starts with me. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing defensively.
It was a pretty strong pelf, I thought.
He made sure to try to pelf it, that he included himself in it. What I'm saying is that the way they're playing and the schedule and the possibility that now we are going to get stung a little bit by injuries after having had a relatively healthy season, all is a little concerning about charging into the postseason at all. The other stat that got speaking of the defense of the club, see if I can find it. Here we go. Oh, I had it. Last 5 opponents against the Wolves. Have you seen or read how many points we've given up to our opponents in the last 5 games?
Well, yeah, I'm staring right at it.
59, 75, 79, 69, and 69.
We've lost 4 of the 5.
That's not going to work. If you're on average giving up, 70 points in the second half, you're not doing anything defensively to speak of at all. Now, again, statistically, we're top 10 in defense this year, stayed there most of the time, but then the last couple of weeks, we're nowhere near that in the smaller sample size. So we'll see. This is going to sound outlandish, but I kind of feel like even though we have 2 teams in crisis, both have lost 4 or 5, Wild and Wolves, I'm more concerned about the Wolves than I am the Wild, even though the Wolves of the 2 teams have the postseason equity and the Wild have none. They've not proven anything in the postseason. But if you forced me to say, which team are you more concerned about going into the postseason, I think it would be the Wolves. Is that crazy?
No, it's not.
I don't think it is. If you just watch it and do the eye test on it.
Yes, if you've been watching.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes from here. I don't want to call it a must game tonight, but pretty close. Is the villain going to be there? Dylan the villain?
I would
assume. He's not playing.
Yeah, I would assume he's with the club.
But you know him. He's going to try to get something going on the bench. Might he epoxy himself to the court? With him, anything's possible.
I was going to say, we can't really rule anything out.
Anything is possible. How about some college basketball?
He and Ant yell at each other back and forth.
They do.
From the benches.
Did you see the Anthony Edwards, President Obama video?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, tough timing. Like, I'm feeling kind of down about the whole thing. So the Rube and me, I don't even want to watch it right now. Looks like they're having a nice soak in a hot tub. They got their feet in a pool or something. Looks great.
You'd have liked it a little earlier or a little
maybe
later.
A week ago.
Yeah.
I mean, start your column earlier.
Yeah,
it's not the greatest release day of all time.
Speaking of starting your column earlier, former award-winning sports columnist Rick Bozich is going to talk college basketball, big dance with us. We'll catch up with him now. Gary, Indiana's own Rick Bozich hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 64686. Former Inkstein Wretch, Louisville Courier-Journal. Then he was a big-time TV star in Louisville, Kentucky. Wrote for a website there for... How many years did you write for... It was WDRB, correct?
Yes, sir. 13 years.
13 years. That's a really... That's a good run for a TV station willing to compensate you to write stuff and occasionally do stuff on TV as well. Now you are in your retirement phase. How have you found it thus far? Is it everything you'd hope for? Are you bored yet, or are you perfectly content?
I'm not bored. I'm content. I enjoy sleeping in. I walk my dog. And tomorrow, believe it or not, I'm heading to Phoenix to watch the White Sox. And I've wanted to go to spring training since I was 6 years old, and I'm going.
Good for you. I didn't even know that. Thanks for burying the lead. I had no idea. That's outstanding.
Yeah. It's only going to be 107 degrees there, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah, they're talking about some records being set in the greater in Arizona. Yeah, so but it's a dry heat.
They dialed it down from 107 to 105.
Okay, but it's dry. You'll be fine. You'll get through it. So you go to a couple of games. Are you going to are you mediaing it somehow? You piggybacking there, or will you just be another Rube in the stands?
I'm just going to wear my White Sox gear and sit in the stands with the other White Sox fans.
Oh, that's outstanding. That's good. I do actually have some baseball questions I want to get to a little bit later. I'll save those for now. I want to read you a couple of sentences from a piece that appeared, I think, today, at least online, in the Wall Street Journal, and it's on the big dance. The reason the craziest sport in the country has suddenly turned dull is the seismic forces reshaping college athletics, NIL, and the transfer portal. The instant a mid-major player shows promise, a familiar pattern unfolds, a big school takes notice, an NIL check gets signed, and a would-be underdog joins up with the favorites instead of trying to topple them. The country's top teams, blue bloods with well-resourced athletic departments and rich histories of March triumph, have never been better. That means the less well-to-do schools are much, much worse. Here's the quote from Franny Fraschilla, who I think you know. There's less and less of what made March Madness great. The best players in college basketball now just gravitate up to the power conference level. Is it as simple as that? Do you agree with all of that, part of that? What do you think?
I agree with most of it. I mean, I think one reason people are feeling that way is that last year all the number one seeds got to the Final Four, and I think the number two seeds did too, at least three of them, maybe all four of them, I don't remember. But there were fewer upsets last year. Let's see if that happens again this year. Most people are predicting that it will, but I generally agree with it because I feel badly for the low majors and the mid majors because it is true that when they uncover, scout, recruit an unheralded player, develop them, and then they have some success, they leave because somebody's going to offer them a bunch of money, and what I don't like about it more than anything else is that as a fan who used to follow programs and guys would come in as freshmen, you say that guy, he's pretty good. He'll probably help next year, or that guy might need a couple of years, but he's going to be pretty good. It's like now it's a constant. The whole roster turns over every year, and that to me as a fan is not something I enjoy. I like to watch guys develop at a certain. There's no loyalty at all, and I think it's eventually going to be an issue. I hear a lot of fans complaining about it. There was a guy in my house today working on a stove, and he's a Louisville fan, and he was lamenting that it's not the way it used to be with players coming in and staying for 4 years, and then after they graduate, they become part of the community. Now it's all transactional. Yeah,
there's a lot of that, and I guess everybody's wondering whether there's a real chance to do anything about it. I mean, is there any galvanizing force? I know that we didn't talk about this much on the show, but I think the president had a bunch of people in to try to figure some stuff out. I don't know if that went anywhere. Is there? Everybody seems to agree to varying degrees that it's a problem, but I'm not sure anybody knows if there's a way out of the box, or if there's a single person or a single commission or a group of people who could bring the forces together to create to maybe alter the structure a little bit. There's no real signs of that, are there?
Not really. I mean, I know that Greg Sankey recently from the SEC said if some things don't change, the SEC is going to set up its own rules. And there's so many different fiefdoms in this that people aren't going to agree. And, the financial resources of the top 2 or 3 conferences are so much greater than there are even like one tier down and just a whole different universe from farther down. But the part that makes me even more cynical is I don't think it matters if they don't follow the rules. They've never followed the rules. So what difference does it make if they make rules? People aren't going to go by the rules. And the organizing body, which has been the NCAA, has never had the resources and never had the firepower to make people follow the rules. So now there are no rules. I don't know. It's not good.
Dave checks in from Illinois. Would Bozich take all 4 number one seeds or the field to win the championship?
You either got to take all 4. You get all 4 number ones or the field. I'd take all 4 number ones.
Yeah, I guess that's easy. That's got to be couched a little bit better than that. Is there, among the number ones, is there a clear cut in your mind favorite on the basis of strength and perhaps route to the Final Four?
I don't think so. Duke is the overall number one seed, but they're a little bit vulnerable because one of their guards injured his foot and has had some kind of surgery, and I've read conflicting reports that he probably wouldn't be back until the Final Four, Caleb Foster. And they're in a tough regional because, the UConn's in there, Patino's in there, Kansas and Bill Self are in there, Izzo's in there. It's a really good regional. The next highest seed is Arizona. I do have them going to the Final Four. And then Michigan, some people really like Michigan. Other people, they had like a freshman guard who got injured. I can't remember his name now. And they said that kind of took away from their team, and they lost to Purdue on Sunday. I don't know. I would go with the number one seeds, though, because I guess if you're taking the field, you're counting on a number two seed like UConn or Houston or Iowa State or Purdue. And Ken Palm himself, who does these ratings, I heard him on a podcast yesterday. He's picking Purdue to win it all, even though in his own metrics, probability-wise, he only has Purdue at a 4% chance of winning it all. His individual pick is Purdue.
So it looks like I didn't get to watch a lot of the Big Ten tournament, but I saw Purdue obviously finish strong. This is the team that started number one in the country, then, relatively speaking, seemed to fade a little bit. So what people want to believe is they're getting their mojo, catching, fire at the right time. How do you view them? And among Big Ten teams, do you believe they do have the best chance to make a run, or is it Michigan?
I like Michigan better. I think there's some possibility that Purdue's got bored at some point during the year because their three best players are all. Well, two of them are 4-year seniors, and Trey Kaufman-Renn's a 5th-year senior, and they've been through it all. I think that at some point in their mind, psychologically, they have to think none of this matters until the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament. Yeah. That's what we're going to be remembered by. But if you look at their season performance, they got beat at home. I think they lost 5 home games, and 2 or 3 of them, they got blown out of Iowa State, and a couple of
Iowa State,
teams came into Mackey and blew them out. And I just don't, as much as I like Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, I think they struggle against more physical and athletic and determined guards. And they could get to the Final Four. I don't see them winning at all. I don't think they're quite good enough.
Trail Ref guy writes, Rick, Duke got screwed in the East region. Number 1 overall seed gets put in the best region, and it isn't even close. Patino, Self, Izzo, Hurley, Cronin, Dixon, and McNamara. Ridiculous. Trail Ref guy is very bitter about the Duke road.
I said they did get the hardest road. I was surprised by it. It's like Hall of Fame coach. I think at least 3 of those coaches, Self, Patino, and Izzo, have all won national championships. And Hurley. That's 4 of them have won national championships.
That's true. The best coach in college basketball today is?
It's Patino. I don't think there's any doubt about it. St. John's was a joke before he got there, and now he's got him winning the Big East tournament and the Big East regular season, and he still is electric and as motivated as he's ever been. Now this is, was the 6th. He set the record last year, I guess, of taking 6 programs to the NCAA tournament. They got upset by Arkansas, but if you had me pick a coach to win one game, it'd be him.
How do you explain it?
Patino?
Yeah.
He's just got different DNA than everybody else. He's obsessed with it all. He really is. He wants to set records. He wants to create a legacy, and he even got more motivated by the fact that he got fired by Louisville and had to go to Greece for a while and coach, and he wants to come back and show the world that, I got a raw deal. I'm still the best coach around, and I'm going to prove it to you. And, theoretically, the NCAA vacated that Louisville title, but everybody knows he won it. But he'd become the only coach to win at 3 different places. And that would be a legacy that would last forever. If he would have stayed at Kentucky, he'd have the better record than Coach K. I don't think would even be close. But that wasn't part of his personality. He had that Larry Brownism in him where he had to always go for the next challenge. But he's just different. He just runs on, high caffeine, high energy, and just an anecdotal thing. Like he's up in St. John's, and he likes this guy named Kenny Klein, who was the Louisville sports information director for a long, long time, and he decided the St. John's SID, not this season, but the season before, had some kind of stuff going on where he needed to fill in, and he brought Kenny Klein in, and he liked him so much having him around that he brought him back again this year just because he wants to have his whole operation at high efficiency with the people that he trusts and the people who do what he wants and the way he wants them to do it. And he's just different. He's different than any. Knight was a great coach too, but he was flawed in terms of he couldn't control his temper. But Pitino, to me, he's just different than anybody else.
Is he? We're chatting with Rick Bozich. Is he stylistically, in terms of his demeanor or how he deals with players, is he the same as he always was? Has he made any adjustments with the times?
A little bit, because I think he's had to. But overall, I don't think that he's got the ability. What separates him from a lot of coaches who are really hard on players is that he can give it out, but then he knows when he's given enough, and he knows when he needs to go in there and make them laugh or give them a hug or build them back up, where a lot of coaches can't do that, and after a while, I think players tune them out. Pitino has a marvelous ability to motivate and drive people, but when they get to the brink of saying and want to say, forget about you, he pulls them back in and builds them up, and they follow what he wants.
Questions are pouring in here. Will you ask Rick if Butler or a school of that ilk could ever really be good 2 years in a row, or is that all over in the current climate?
I think it's probably over because of the reasons we talked about. Yeah. If there's a really good player, they're moving on. I mean, Michigan's best player came from UAB, right? Jackson Wendenborg. Trying to think of the other top teams. Who else has players Kentucky brought players up from schools, a notch or two below. Duke doesn't do that because they don't have to. But, almost every team. Purdue got a guy, Clough, their center. They brought him in from somewhere out west. Michigan State doesn't do it as much as others, but Florida, they've rebuilt their team this year with, they got a guard from Arkansas. Everybody's doing it. I don't think there's very few guys are that loyal, and schools can't afford to pay the numbers that. I have a friend who coaches in the Horizon League, and I asked him, for his league, how much do they have to pay a center? And he said this year $150,000, and he thinks next year it'll go up to $200,000. This is the Horizon League, which is like the 17th best conference, in the computer rankings. Yeah. So, the numbers that I hear, like with some of the players that Indiana got this year, it'll blow you away. And they didn't even make the tournament.
I was going to get to that in a minute. Why, under the NIL, right, 701 guy, is it I'm hearing there's less parity in basketball, but at the same time, football seems to have more parity?
Very good question. The parity is evidenced, I guess, by Indiana and Ole Miss.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
I think part of that was because Signetti is a unicorn.
Yeah, true.
And he brought guys with him from James Madison, and he had the ability to find guys he wasn't shopping at the Louis Vuitton aisle. He was shopping at the, Trader Joe's aisle, and he found guys that fit his culture, and he could coach up a little bit, and they got better. That's a fair question, but I think it's more that Signetti is just an unusual coach.
Is Indiana ever going to be a basketball school again?
I don't know, man. I used to think it would, but I'm not convinced anymore. This year, they were looking good 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then lost to Northwestern twice down the stretch and didn't make the tournament. I think I think they want to. I know the athletic director wants to because he's a former basketball student manager, and they hired some guy from the Pacers to be the, quote, general manager who's going to deal with agents and bring guys in and out of the portal. But it's going to – I'm not convinced, I'll just say that much.
Do you have a Final Four? Have you done your bracket?
Yeah, I did my bracket. I came up with St. John's. I'm backing up my support of Pitino in the East because I think Duke's vulnerable with the injured guard. I'm going with Houston and Kelvin Sampson to beat Florida this time. They lost to him in the championship game last year. They'll beat him in the Elite Eight and get to the Final Four. In the top right, I've got Arizona because I think they've been the best team overall all season. They got a good blend of freshmen and veteran guys. And in the bottom right, I'm going with the Wolverines. And then I got St. John's and Pitino in the championship game playing Michigan. And I got the Big Ten ending its drought with Michigan winning the championship and Indiana fans splitting their wrists as they know that Dusty May, the coach that got away.
The coach who got away, yeah. So very, very true.
Thanks to Mike Woodson. Mike Woodson, the gift who keeps on giving to IU basketball.
One of your favorites, as I recall. I mean, you liked him as a player. You liked him as a player at IU, right? Not so much as a coach.
He was overrated. He was a scorer.
He was.
He never got to the Final Four.
No.
Let's make a note of that.
No, he didn't. He didn't. I think I covered the last team that got eliminated. I think it was Virginia Tech knock him out. Somebody knocked him out that wasn't supposed to. I had a follow-up. Tomorrow we're having a writer on who's got the new Larry Bird book out. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, Keith O'Brien?
Yeah. And one of the most fascinating parts of the book that I've read so far, because I just got it a couple of days ago, is the theory, and I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on this, because you've been around the IU basketball culture for so long. So one of the theories looking back was, for those who don't know, Larry Bird was going to Indiana University. That was the plan. And it's supposed to be a marriage made in heaven. It doesn't last very long. He finds the school too big. He's overwhelmed. Doesn't even like the way some other players apparently treat him. And one of the theories is that the biggest mistake that Knight and or the staff made was having him room with Jim Wisman, who was the notion being Wisman was a guard out of, I want to say it was Illinois, was he not? And
Quincy, Illinois.
Quincy, Illinois. The theory was that, Larry Joe Bird didn't have much. He was blue collar as hell, and Wisman was kind of a privileged guy, and he came to McNutt Quad with a full wardrobe. Larry Bird had like 2 pairs of jeans and like 2 shirts. And that if the IU staff had done a better job of pairing Bird with somebody more of his ilk, that he might not ever have left. Is that an oversimplification, or have you heard that theory before?
I've heard it before. I've seen it written before. And Jerry Wisman was a good-looking guy too. That all the young ladies liked. And Bird, wasn't, and he was kind of backwards. But I guess I want to preface it with this: Bird already had some insecurities that evidence that showed themselves in the summer before he got to IU. He was on the Indiana All-Star team that played the series against Kentucky, and he didn't play much or as much as he thought he should have played in the first game, and he quit the team, which nobody did back then, and didn't play in the second game, and that was evidence to me of like something's going on with this guy. He's not. He's a little bit skittish.
Well, the late great Bob Hamill ripped him. According to the book, the part of the book I read, the late great Bob Hamill ripped him for that too. I mean, he in no uncertain terms said,
I'm sure he did, because I'm sure Knight was pissed.
Sure,
because you have to remember, back then that game was a big deal. I mean, it sold out Hinkle Fieldhouse and Freedom Hall with in the middle of the summer. And being Mr. Basketball and being on the All-Star team was a huge honor. It's not that way anymore.
Yeah.
But it was then, and you just don't do stuff like that. And then the other thing that I heard was that in pickup games, some of the players were rough with him, or I don't know if they said things to him or whatever, Benson being one of them. He didn't get along with Kent Benson or something, and that all contributed to the fact that a kid who was homesick, and the campus can be overwhelming, but yeah, I don't. I think he made the right decision for him because he went to Indiana State and thrived.
It worked out well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting with him about the book tomorrow. It's getting good reviews, and I've liked what I've read.
I've downloaded the book. I'm going to listen to it
as
an audio book, so I hope it's good. I know his Pete Rose book was good.
Outstanding. That was a great book. You're absolutely right. Last item for you, World Baseball Classic. We were talking about this early in the show. You're a ball guy. You love ball. You're proving it by going to spring training soon. So explain to me, there seems to be a central contradiction here where it's been dramatic, it's been exciting, the World Baseball Classic has been everything you could have hoped for, and yet, again, quoting today from a Wall Street Journal story, they're admitting that, what we're starting a starting pitcher who has apparently an electric arm, but has barely played in the major leagues because no one else necessarily wants their pitcher to use up his arm this close to the start of the regular season. So do we have a disconnect here on whether this thing matters to, whether there's a good marriage yet between Major League Baseball and World Baseball Classic? Because it feels like if it's that big, if we really want to make it that dramatic, there shouldn't have to be that much negotiation to get the best, most experienced players available for the winner-take-all championship game tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a slow, grudging acceptance of it. I think by the U.S. team, they got more players to buy in this year than they had in previous years. I guess in part because they were motivated because they lost to Japan the last time. But that's the pitchers are the place that teams are always going to be very reluctant to go along with it. This year with the Skeens did pitch in 2 games. Scooble pitched in 1 and thought about staying and then changed his mind.
Right.
And these guys, the pitchers are worth so much money, and they're so hard to find that the pitchers I think are reluctant to overextend themselves because they don't want to get injured and hurt their. Scooble's going to be a free agent after this year. He doesn't want to do anything to cause himself not to be able to cash in on what will probably be the largest contract that the pitchers ever received, and B, teams that have pitchers know how hard they are to keep healthy over an entire year and don't want them, getting jacked up with adrenaline and thrown too hard, too long. This at what would still be the end of spring training. So the only remedy that I've heard is to move this thing into the middle of summer and eliminate the All-Star game and make it like a 10-day tournament in the middle of the summer. But I don't know if the Players Association would have to and the owners would both have to agree on that. And I don't know if it'll happen.
Can your White Sox finish ahead of the Twins in the standings this year?
Yes. I've been negative for the last 3 years, but I think they can do it this year.
That's the most positive I've heard you be in a long time. You're encouraged.
Well, they've lost over 100 games 3 years in a row. I mean, you can't do this way forever. Come on. But I suffered long enough.
Yeah,
and plus
that's
the
true.
Twins gave up last year.
Pretty much, yeah. We're not in a good place right now.
Do they have an injured pitcher?
We have one injured pitcher, and actually I think we have 2.
Yeah,
Pablo's the big one, is the big name, but we have we have a second one whose name now escapes me. Not as big, not as prominent, and we're another $30 million.
You can answer this question for me. Did they not ask Ryan to come?
Well, we talked about that early. Ryan. They made it before the semifinal game. They made a roster change, and he fully expected to be the guy. He was ready. He claims the Twins were all on board, and they ended up adding another closer and leaving him off the list. So he's acting very disappointed that for whatever reason the plug was pulled. So yeah, he was ready to go. He wanted to do it. But apparently, whoever the powers that be make the decisions, manager, general manager, whatever.
So they're starting this rookie again from the Mets?
Yes, who's supposed to have like the arm of the century, but has barely pitched in the major leagues.
He lost the game to Italy, though, so it wasn't like he was the pitcher that started the game, and they lost to Italy, I think, right?
I think you're right. He's pitched 48 innings in the majors. And again, he struck out like 58 in the 48 innings, but it seems rather curious to me. So I don't know if there's a backstory that we're missing, but we'll see tonight. So you're leaving tomorrow, you said?
Yes, I am, tomorrow morning.
Safe travels. Have a wonderful time. How long are you going?
I think I'm coming back Sunday night.
That's a pretty good thing. That's good. That's the beauty of retirement. That's something you could. This time of year, you weren't going to be able to do that. Big dance time? Are you kidding? You had no chance to do this.
I've always wanted to go to spring training since I was a little kid.
This is it.
I'm finally going.
And this is the first time.
When I was in college, we went on spring break to Florida, and I went and saw a Yankees game. But I've never been to White Sox spring training.
That's historic. That's good. I'm glad you're doing it. It's on the bucket list. Now you've another item is you can check off the box on spring training.
Yep. Now I just got to get to Serbia, then I'll be complete.
That's a matter of time. Thank you. We'll be in touch. Thanks, Ricky.
All right. Thank you, Danny.
Rick Bozich, who is a longtime newspaper legend in Louisville, Kentucky, now retired and enjoying his retirement years, but still very much paying attention to the game of college basketball. Top 5 will include
Wolves and Wild.